Oh, I'm so sorry, Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits. I tried. Hey, guys, it's Monday. Welcome to studentloanjustice.org. We are the oldest, largest, first, and only true, actual grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We're a collection of, on paper, 1.4 million distressed, by and large, student loan borrowers. You may have seen our petition at change.org. You may have seen us on 60 Minutes or the New York Times or Fox News or MSNBC or Peacock or any number of other places. Anyways, the long and the short of it is this, guys. We've been around for 18 years now. We know the student loan problem. We fight only for the borrowers. We don't have any secret deals with shady people. We don't sell our members out. I am a defaulted student loan borrower living much like you, hand to mouth, stressing and stuff like that. So we're glad that you found us. I hope that you will tell everyone you know about this group. You know, we've learned a lot over many years. We've seen all the tricks and the traps and all the nonsense that is played on student loan borrowers at the hands of this unconstitutional, now nationally threatening, and it is, viciously predatory, big government loan scam. And it is a scam. And we don't have to take this shit, ladies and gentlemen. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution. This student loan monstrosity is exactly the kind of thing that they wanted to avoid. And I would be happy to elaborate on that if any of you have any questions, comments, editorial opinions, or otherwise. But suffice it to say, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, egalitarian, vegetarian, no matter what your political stripes are, you're very welcome on this group. Quite frankly, we're fiercely nonpartisan. We can't stand either political party at this point. One in maybe a slightly different way than the other, but anyways, I'm going to get right into it tonight. We've broken many pieces of very important research in the media over many years. We broke the story, for example, when credit cards surpassed student loan debt in 2010. We broke that story. It was us that did that research. We've broken many other stories as well. Many other stories. In fact, this thing that we did on 60 Minutes in 2006 culminated in the largest scandal in higher education history, in the history of colleges in the United States. Financial aid administrators got fired across the board, including from Ivy League schools like Columbia. So suffice it to say, we take our research on the student loan issue very seriously, and we never make any claims that aren't very strong and very easily verified and confirmed through nothing more than publicly available, usually federal data. And so tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take you through just one of the stories that we've broken. I think it's just so important. And the story is, the federal government makes a profit, not a loss, a profit on defaulted student loans. So for those of you out there who don't know much about loans or lending or student loans, you only know that you have student loans and they suck. I get that. I totally get that. But let me put it in perspective for you. So no lender for any loan makes a profit on a defaulted loan. It just doesn't happen. A credit card company, for example, is thrilled if they get back 10 cents on the dollar on a defaulted credit card, for example. The federal government makes a profit on defaulted student loans. This blows. Like most people who have a good financial background, like, a business degree and stuff, economics degree, they literally don't believe me when I tell them this. But indeed, it's true. And I'm going to take you really quickly through this so that you understand. And I will also say, we initially broke this story very badly in the Wall Street Journal in 2010. And Maybe I'll tell you the history, but let me just tell you the top line story first so that you understand. So I'm going to take this down here. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to share a screen here. Give me 1 second, please. Oh, there it is right there. Okay. So hopefully you can see this now. No other lender makes a profit on defaulted loans. Like home mortgage lenders, when someone defaults on their loans and it goes belly up, they won't make a default. They won't make a profit on that loan. Although one has to wonder these days what happened with the subprime thing. But anyways, certainly on an unsecured loan, nobody makes a profit on a defaulted loan. Just doesn't happen. However, the federal government, as I said again, this is a defining hallmark of a predatory lending system. Federal government makes a profit on a defaulted loan. Like, what if you want to start a business like selling shoes? You want to buy a shoe store, and the lender somehow wanted your business to fail. They're like, yeah, I'm going to lend him this money, and I can make more money if somehow the loan goes into default rather than, the loan remain in good stead. Well, that would be bad, right? Well, that's precisely what's been going on with defaulted federal student loans. But here's the history, guys. Here's the story. Okay, if you look, and this goes back to research that we did in 2010. So here's the 2010 data. There's a very key metric we're talking about here, and that is the recovery rate. So the recovery rate is defined as the amount of a loan at the time that it defaulted versus compared to how much was ultimately collected on that loan. So if a loan defaults, let's say $100,000, and the credit card company or the lender, whoever it is, winds up getting $50,000 back on that loan, then the recovery rate would be 50%, 0.5. And here we see, this is 2010 data here. This comes from the White House budget, by the way, of that year, 2010. And you can see the source right there. Supplementary materials, table 4. You can see the universe of, at the time, what were the universe of federally made insured loans. We have agriculture loans, home loans, business loans, renewable energy, etc. Probably FEMA loans are in there somewhere. Where are they? Disaster loans, yeah. And we see that all the blue spikes are the typical recovery rate for those loans. So for rural home loans, they were getting back looks like about 3 cents or so on the dollar. That's pretty low. But even on the high mark for Department of Transportation loans, they were getting back something like 63 or 4% on the dollar. And that was the high mark. Everything was between that. The average was something like 37 cents on the dollar. And then you see the red spike. Guess what the red spikes are? The red spike is defaulted federal student loans. Now, at the time, most all of federal student loans were these FFELP loans, where the federal government, they were privately owned loans. So if the loan defaulted and the balance was $100,000, the federal government would pay the lender $100,000. And I'm being a little simplistic, but that's basically how it worked. And then what the government ultimately collected on that debt, well, it was 122% of what it paid out. The amount of the loan at the time of default, $100,000. So a defaulted loan that defaulted at $100,000, the federal government would ultimately get back $122,000, aka $22,000 in profit. And that's only for student loans. Like, that's an alarm bell, guys. And I'll tell you the story about how we tried to break this in the Wall Street Journal. This was in 2010. They kind of broke it, but what they really ran a con operation on us. And they interviewed anonymous unnamed sources at the Department of Education, and these unnamed, in other words, people who were unwilling to put their real names on this quote, they go, "Oh yeah, I know it looks like we make a profit, but really, you know, we have collection costs and stuff. So actually, it's a little bit less than that. We're actually losing just a tiny bit of money on these defaulted loans." Well, that doesn't stand up to scrutiny at all. If you look at any standard bank loan where, you know, you have a car to repossess or a, you know, piece of farm equipment that you need to repossess and sell, you know, you've got actual stuff. The collection costs, even on those very expensive to collect on loans where you have to repossess property and warehouse it and store it and sell it at auction, all that nonsense. On average, the collection cost per 100 or per dollar collected on the loan is like 5%. So the federal government and collection costs on student loans are almost non-existent. There's no property to repossess. There's no costs really involved at all. It's the easiest thing in the world to collect. Among all loans in this country, federal student loans are the easiest to collect on, the least expensive to collect on. So there should be almost no collection cost. But anyways, that's another story for another day. The point is, guys, this story was 2010. Now flash forward to 2023, and lo and behold, the data has changed slightly, but we still see that the loans are very different today. So there's two huge differences. The loans are now direct federal student loans. So there no longer is a private company that makes these loans and makes the interest on the loans. And when the loans default, the federal government reimburses them the $100,000 for that 100,000 defaulted loan. All that's out of the water. The federal government is now the lender. So this has a very important ramification. So we can see here that the recovery rate, unlike in 2010, which was 122%, now it's only about 105% across the board for the universe of these new direct federal student loans. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a very key difference here. These newish, not really new, but compared to the old loans, these direct loans, before they fall into default, a boatload of interest is added to the loan. So the government doesn't pay anybody $100,000 to take over that defaulted loan like back in the old days. We're talking about the same $100,000 defaulted loan, by the way. For that very same $100,000 defaulted loan, the government paid for that loan many years ago, and they absolutely didn't pay $100,000 for it. They probably paid like $40,000 for it, is my best guess. And we have no way of knowing. Even the Department of Education never, there's no way for anyone, including me, and maybe even not a great way for people at the Department of Education to be able to estimate how much on average the federal government paid for these loans. But you know, my best estimate is that the federal government only paid about $40,000 for that loan. But nonetheless, the definition of recovery rate remains the same, which is the value of the loan at the time that it defaulted, which is still $100,000 versus what they got back on it. So for whatever reason, the federal government is not getting back $122,000 on this defaulted loan. They're only getting back $105,000. But the actual profit that is baked into that loan for the federal government is way higher than the profit that it was making on the old style defaulted loans. So the conclusion is that not only is the government still making a profit on defaulted loans, unlike any other borrower for any other type of loan that I can think of, They are making far more profit today on a defaulted loan in 2023 than they ever dreamed about making on a defaulted loan in 2010. So, ladies and gentlemen, and by the way, I told you the history, how the Wall Street Journal, and this was right around the time when the mainstream media was really starting to get really bad. Like 2008 and 9 came the financial crisis. That was right when the media started getting really, really propagandistic, I guess the best adjective is. And a major low point that I noted was this Wall Street Journal story where they turned a headline, which was the government makes a profit on defaulted loans, which should cause a national, huge national controversy. Like that just doesn't happen. It's unheard of. They changed it from that headline to, hey, the government doesn't lose too much money on defaulted loans, which is completely false, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. But anyways, I digress. So this was when this was when the press really started turning against us, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are, what, 12 years, 13 years after that. And I kid you not, guys, I cannot get anyone in the mainstream media to even look at this story. And the data is what I just showed you. They can very easily confirm these numbers from the most 2020 federal White House budget. It would take them, a minute. And they can very easily from the older data as well from the 2010 White House budget. So this is not like a lot of work for a journalist to do. Like there's nothing hard about it. You don't have to be particularly smart. You don't have to be, but here we are, guys. The mainstream media will not touch this story. So, and by the way, if you can subscribe to our Substack, that would be really helpful. We only just started publishing our new stuff to our Substack. We've had it for a couple of years, but only now are we publishing our new research there. But please subscribe to it. It will help. Thank you. So I could go on for 5 hours, guys, talking about all the research that we've done over the past 10, 12, 13, 14, even about 14 years. And how bad the media has become, all the stories that we've broken, like the fact that older people now outnumber younger people with student loans. That's true. We've never seen that reported in the mainstream media. On and on and on, story after story like that. But this story about defaults is particularly important because any economist who is confronted with that information is ethically, professionally bound to say, oh, that's not good. That's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. It's a defining hallmark of a predatory lending system, ladies and gentlemen. So whatever. Someday, hopefully in my lifetime, people will listen to me. And more than that, will simply look at the data for themselves and draw the only conclusion that can be drawn from those data, which is we're in an info war, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed. That's not just something with COVID or Twitter or whatever. It's, in fact, I would say the student loan issue is probably one of the first poster childs for malinformation, propaganda, and so forth, guys. You have no idea the world that I've been living in for the past 13 years. It's been a very dark place. But anyways, the truth is bright. The truth is strong. And the truth is powerful. And the truth, I believe Jesus himself said, will set you free. And so that's what I'm clinging to as far as the truth is a very powerful and very stubborn thing, guys. It's why we've been around for 18 years now, which is a good thing, by the way. I could have thrown the towel in on this thing like many years ago, and all this very important institutional memory or just truth, I guess, really, would have probably never seen the light of day. So, but guys, we need to spread the word about this. This is very important truth that everybody needs to know, but nobody will know at this point, it appears, unless you tell them. So this is a working, fighting group, if you haven't noticed. We're nothing more than normal people, everyday average citizens, fighting with nothing more than the truth on our side. And if we don't tell the truth is not going to be told. And we will be wrecked by this unconstitutional, viciously predatory loan scam. The lending system is finished, guys, by all rational metrics. You know, even before the pandemic, 60% of all borrowers were not making payments on their loans. And that's going to go up to like 80, 85%, maybe even higher whenever they try and turn the loans back on. So the lending system is a catastrophic failure. There's no doubt. But guys, I'm telling you, this could have a good ending. This could have a bad ending. What the bad people want, and there's a lot of bad people out there, guys, there are. What the bad people want, the collection companies, the servicers, and maybe including and especially the Department of Education, they want these loans turned back on and for the constitutional right of bankruptcy remaining gone from the loans. That's what they want. It's their North Star. It's the collection industry's fantasy. It's their wet dream, their golden unicorn. It's for these loans to be turned back on and the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy remains gone from the loans. We're the only group in the country that I can tell that's actually fighting for the return of bankruptcy rights at this point. So this group is way fucking more important than you might think. I know the stupid piano and the weird lighting. I know we don't appear to be that important. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, this group right here is the eye of the hurricane in the actual battle for student loan justice. We're fighting for loan cancellation. There's no doubt. But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be begging Joe Biden or the next president forever to do meaningful student loan cancellation. And it will never happen unless and until we get the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. Least of all me, least of all you. Very few people will have to file for bankruptcy when we get the right returned. But unless and until that happens, we're going to be begging Joe Biden or the next president forever for loan cancellation. And the most we'll get is this nonsense that we've already seen. $10,000, $20,000 means tested bullshit. Nonsense, guys. It's a very good reason that the founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution, ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army. And this student loan violation of their wisdom proves their wisdom. And guys, the bad people out there, there's not a huge number of them, but they have a lot of money. They're very well resourced, and they have a huge, well paid for amplifier. So we can defeat them very easily with nothing more than the truth. But what that depends entirely upon is you. Or how many people are helping us fight, helping us tell the truth. You know, we've got so many people that I can mention, thousands actually, who've done a lot of hard work helping us. But that's not nearly enough, guys. We've got 1.4 million people on this group, at least on paper. If even 10% of those people, 1 in 10 of those people, were helping us fight by doing, at a minimum, our daily actions, and let me dial that in for you. We do our daily actions almost every day. If even 1 out of 10 of the people on our group were doing our daily actions, we would have this problem solved in a couple of months, probably. But you got to do your part because these are your loans. This is your livelihood. This thing could have a very good ending where the loans get canceled quickly and cleanly. And when we get the right of bankruptcy returned, that's pretty much going to happen. If that doesn't happen, then we're going to be fucked. They're going to turn these loans back on in September. It's going to be a bloodbath. And it could be years or even decades. It could be even your death that finally causes the cancellation of these loans. So if you're like me, you don't particularly want to spend the rest of your natural life under the weight of these loans. I hope that's true. And if that is true, well, then you better own this problem. You know, so many people on this group, Joanna, Lisa, Ed, Nicholas, Aaron, way too many people to mention. They are doing the hard work. They cannot do your work for you. So as long as 99% of the people on this group are a bunch of fucking useless wallflowers, it looks, the outlook is very poor for us, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be distracted by the nonsense in the media. Don't be distracted by the other fake groups out there claiming to be fighting for students, but they're completely full of shit. Some of them are actual fucking predators. Some of others, it's hard to tell where they end and the debt collection industry picks off. It's hard to tell where one leaves off and the other begins. We're it, guys. If there was another group fighting this fight, I would quit this thing and I would join that group. But that group is us. So you can't unhear that. So I'm looking for your questions and comments now. I think I'm going to keep it I'm already at a half an hour tonight, so I'm going to only go another couple of minutes. One thing I should say, if you can donate, guys, just donate. We were able to raise the $40 that we needed to cover last week's expenses. This week, I haven't even looked yet. I think we're going to have to raise another like $300 or maybe more, maybe 400 or 500. I don't know. But I do know that here, let me see. If you can donate, it will help us tremendously because I suck at fundraising. I'm no good at it. And I don't like to do it. So you can see the link to donate right there. If you appreciate all that this group has done over many years, and by the way, we would not be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order, but for this group. You know, we started the petition calling for loan cancellation by executive order way before anyone was talking about canceling student loans by executive order publicly. We brought that whole concept into the public conversation. And it was only months and months after we started this petition, when we were blowing up on Newsweek and Fox News and all the networks, that Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer co-opted the concept. We're glad they did, although they wrecked it. They absolutely wrecked it. And that hurts. But that whole thing started on this group, guys. And any number of pieces of bankruptcy legislation that we've seen over the past 12, actually like 14 years now, 16 years, including going back to Hillary Clinton's Student Borrower Bill of Rights Act. All that legislation was due to us, the people on this group. So you have no idea how important this group is, guys. And I'm not like trying to brag or, beat my chest. It's a fact, dudes. And, if we don't fight this battle, we will lose. The country will lose. The bad guys will have their way. And so you can't unhear that. And these are your loans. This is your livelihood that's sitting on the chopping block. And these loans are going to get turned back on September 1st. And the only question is whether we're going to have our bankruptcy rights returned to us by then or not. It's going to be a fucking bloodbath, if not. So, hey, Nicholas Leakey's with us. Hey, Nicholas. I think I mentioned you earlier in Utah. Nicholas says, I talked a while back with a servicer/editor. They went completely silent when I mentioned returning bankruptcy back to student loans. They had nothing to say about any of your articles and just outright ignored me. Right, exactly. That's the way the opposition handles the bankruptcy issue. They go silent. They go quiet. They ignore you because they know that we're right. We have Democrats and Republicans and very conservative people calling for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. And it's like there's a black cloud over the whole thing because what they're not telling you is that the federal government and everybody profiting, the colleges, and all the congressmen who are in the pockets of the colleges and the lenders. And we're talking about Democrats and we're talking about Republicans and Democrats, guys, both sides of the aisle. Like historically, the Republicans say they hate us, and they do hate us. And the Democrats claim to like us, but when push comes to shove, the Democrats betray us, aka they hate us too. And the great unspoken thing is that nobody in Washington, D.C. wants this loan scam to end. Everybody's making too much fucking money off of it. And that is the truth. So, yeah, you're going to get that with us. And it is what it is, guys. Like I said, it's a very weird space that we're in, but it's true. Hey, Jackie Abron from Texas says, I'll get right on it. Well, thank you, Jackie. I think Jackie's talking about doing our daily actions, maybe. Maybe I should read her comments in order. Okay, so let me expand. And I may not be able to get to all your comments tonight, guys. Let me just apologize in advance if that's true. But Jackie Abron says, same concept of today when you can pay off debts to collection companies for pennies on the dollar, still stealing. Yeah, don't believe any of the nonsense about the rolling student debt jubilee where they're paying off people's student loans for them for pennies on the dollar. That's all one big scam, ladies and gentlemen. The loans that they're canceling are worthless. They're legally unenforceable. These are private student loans that are way past their statute's limitations. The collection industry can't get anything for them. It's garbage paper. So anybody can pay them, 2-3 cents on the dollar for these loans and cancel them. But that doesn't help anyone. The only people that helps is the collection industry. So, and we're talking about the debt collective here. Like I said, it's hard to tell where the debt collective leaves off and where the debt collection industry begins. Those people do financial dealings with each other. And we heard the debt collective talking trash about returning bankruptcy to student loans the other day. Like, oh, how convenient is that? The one thing the collection industry doesn't want is bankruptcy returned to student loans. And oh, here we have the debt collective, which has done millions of dollars in business transactions with the student debt collection industry. Here we have the debt collective talking trash about returning bankruptcy to student loans. It's pretty fucking convenient, don't you think? Anyways, I don't speak for the other groups. I'll let the other groups speak for them fucking selves. So Jackie says, same idea. If restaurants got paid double if their patrons got sick, it's shameful. Right, exactly. Like if you poisoned your food and got paid more somehow, like what the fuck is going on? Pardon my French tonight, guys. I get a little heated over this issue. If you can understand my pent-up frustration built up over 18 years of telling the truth and having other people tell lies and spin, and because they have a louder microphone, their nonsense wins the day or clouds the truth from being seen. You'd understand my sometimes profanity-laced language. So, okay, guys, I got to leave it there at that. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on right now. But for now, I will only say, guys, do our daily actions. Hopefully something I said tonight touched you. Believe it or not, the country actually needs you sitting there to get off your ass, join us in this fight. Everybody I see here tonight will tell you it feels very good to fight this fight. I sleep like a baby at night. It's cathartic. We need you. The country needs you. And you cannot unhear that. So I'll be back tomorrow, guys. Like I said, lots going on. Check back often. Do our daily actions. All right. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everyone. See you tomorrow.